Well, good morning guys and welcome to the show. Today we have a new product I'm super excited about, but before, Fernando.
Welcome to the show, guys.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ready for this?
Let's go.
As you saw from that green box on the desk, that can only mean one thing. It's an Axxess piece. Today's vehicle just happens to be a 2020 with that god-awful Bose stereo. And this is a piece we've been waiting for so long. It's finally here, an integration module for this vehicle, GM's, Chevys. And well, we're gonna take you through the steps of one, unboxing it, show you what comes in the box, and two, our validation process for any time we get a new integration module like this so that we can make sure it works before we dig deep into the car. And well, then it's too late and we have to come up like with a plan B. We don't wanna do that. Let's get to it. This is the new Axxess AXDSPX ETH1. This will allow us to integrate into the Chevy systems and give us preamp output. Also has a DSP in it, but you can use it with the DSP or as a standalone interface. That is entirely up to you. Either way, we finally have what we're looking for here. And well, let's open it up and see what comes in the box. First is the module itself, the instruction manual. Keep these are very important. There's two harnesses depending on the vehicle that you have. It's labeled LD-DSP ETH1 and then ETH2. There's a subwoofer level control, the main RCA harness. The X comes with front, rear, and sub, and then 5 additional channels here if you decide to use this as your DSP and go, let's say, full active with it. There's a remote turn on, and then there's a system on wire. And then inside the box there's a little bracket for the bass knob. As I said, the instructions are super important, and they're really short. There's not much to them. It gives you an overview of what you're gonna be doing for installation, and then it just explains how to get the thing to work. It's really quite simple. Let's hop into the vehicle. The first thing we need to do is find out which one of these harnesses are going into our car. This is the factory amplifier. It is located behind the back seat in this particular vehicle. Now I will tell you, getting this back seat out is a major pain in the butt. There's a couple YouTube videos out there that show you how to do it. Just Google one of those. It takes way too long for me to explain it. Suffice to say, it sucks. What we're looking for on the amplifier is the number of plugs that it has. That is what separates the two harnesses. So you have 4 plugs here, this bottom one being brown. And when you look at the tube bag, you'll see this one here, the 1 has the brown cable in it, and then the 2 just has 3 cables. That means we're not gonna need this one. To unplug these from the amplifier, this red clip here needs to be pulled back on all of these. That will allow you to then press in and get out your cable. It can be fun with this right next to it. Plan on, hurting your fingers just a little bit. You could use a little pry tool also. Just be careful not to destroy the factory plug. Looking at our harnesses, the green one here is our main speaker harness. For testing, we don't need that. It just goes out to the speakers. I'm gonna set this aside for right now. However, these guys here, we totally need. We have the brown cable here and these 2 black ones. This guy, the little 8-pin, plug this in last. This is your power. It's also going to be your hardest cable to plug in. I like to start from the bottom and work my way up. We'll start with the brown. Now for testing purposes, I would not plug in that red clip until you're done with everything, just so you don't have to do things twice. Next is the small black cable, and then the big 8-pin power connector. This one you're gonna have to push until you hear the click. There you go. With that done, plug the 8-pin connector into the Axxess module, and then plug in your RCA/remote turn-on cable. For those of you that didn't read the instructions, it clearly states in the instructions, when setting this up, make sure the remote turn-on wire is not connected. So if you're just fast-forwarding to the end in your installation, you're just hoping it works, and you hooked up the remote turn-on, don't. Leave the remote turn-on disconnected from the amplifier. They say to do it, so I'm assuming it's kind of important. At this point, we need to set up the DSP and let it know what vehicle it is in, as well as lock the unit down. To do that, grab your smartphone, go off to the App Store and download their software. In the instructions, it tells you what it is. We've already done that. At this point, you have the app downloaded, you're happy. Turn the car on, make sure that your lights are blinking. Pair the Bluetooth between your phone and your device. That's important, make sure they're paired. That can be done through the Bluetooth connection here. It's going to say connecting. Following that, grab your vehicle type, make sure that the make, model, year is everything that it's supposed to be, select apply, then click lock down. This will lock the DSP so that it knows that it is that particular vehicle. That's important, obviously. Wait for it to get done doing that. Next, we're gonna need some tools to actually do the testing. This is just validation, getting this unit into the car. For that, we're going to use two devices. One is an RTA, one is an amplified speaker. We'll be plugging an RCA from this into the harness here, as well as an RCA from the amplified speaker into this here. We'll just pick front, left, and right. Now, just so you don't get confused, on the unit, it has this little flag here. We all know how much I love flags. These are the subwoofer outputs. So one is white, one is red. We want to make sure we grab a white and gray here. We can hear the door chime kicking it. That's a plus. We can now switch the RCAs. We'll plug the RTA into white, and this will show us the chime activating here, which for those of you curious, that is the frequency of a GM chime. Now, the reason why we have both the speaker and the RTA is, for one, we'd like to see what is happening, just in case there's some strange signal coming. But the amplified speakers, so we can actually hear things. For example, in this particular vehicle, before we pulled it in, it has front and rear sensors. You want to check to see their configurations for front and rear sensors, because nothing sucks worse than getting done with the install, trying to figure out why does the car not have sensors, and they're actually turned off. That's important. Check that. I can't stress it enough. There are certain things like that you want to do before you start testing here, because you need something that is, this is how it was, so to speak. So test the CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, see where the sounds are coming from the factory. Once you know that, then when you're doing this testing, it makes a heck of a lot more sense, and it's easier to make sure that you don't get caught up in the weeds going, why isn't this working? What did we do wrong? What we want to do now is play some audio just to see what things sound like and what things look like. The amplified speaker will allow us to hear sounds. In this case, we're just playing pink noise. The reason why we're playing pink noise first is because we want to look at the RTA. The RTA is going to tell us what that signal looks like. And as we can see here, it looks, well, it looks sexy as all get out for a GM. I mean, for anything for that matter. Fernando, can you turn it up and down a little bit? Mm-hmm. Flat is tracking. That's awesome. This is the first for GM for me. So we know the signal looks good here, which is great. This brings us to the audio portion of this. We want to hear something other than this. We know it looks good, but we just want to make sure that there's nothing being hidden electrically in the RTA. Playing some music, we can get a good feel for what is going to happen here. And then if we wanted to see it on the RTA, we could do that as well. The next step is to change the RCAs to make sure we have sound coming out of the RCAs we're going to use. Right now we're feeding the speaker with this green. Unplug the RTA and we'll check all the others to make sure they're making sound. Gray works, white works, and we can hear the door chime. Grab the subwoofers, make sure those are playing. As we can hear there, that's a full range signal coming out of that. There's no crossover applied yet. So for sound testing, we're like over the moon here. We have a flat signal. All 6 outputs are working the way they're supposed to. We can hear a door chime. Bonus. Now we need to do a little bit further testing. We need to make sure like CarPlay does what it's supposed to, because that'll tell us if the microphone is working. For that, plug the powered speaker into white or driver's front, because that's where our sound is going to be coming from. Hey Siri, what's the weather like today?
Should be sunny today. Daytime temperatures will hover around 83 degrees.
If you tested the car and it had backup sensors and they were functioning and you could hear them, this would be the time where you would want to test that. Start the car up, put it in reverse, have somebody walk behind the vehicle and see if they're doing what they're supposed to do. In this particular vehicle, they don't have the backup sensors audible, but that's not going to stop us from testing us. We want to make sure that at least they're still vibrating the seat, which is what they do in this truck. So I'm going to have Fernando jump into the front seat. He's going to do some testing. And the reason why we want to do that is for obvious reasons. What if something while disconnecting the amplifier somehow magically passes through that? I don't know. These things aren't getting any easier. Then when you're done with the rears, naturally move on to the fronts if it has them, just to make sure those are doing the exact same thing. The next thing that we do on this is digital multimeter. You say, why? I like to know how my remote turn on is gonna react in the vehicle. Does it turn off with the key when the door opens? Does it stay on until the car physically goes to sleep? These are important things to check because you wanna be able to answer these questions for your customer if they go, hey, why is this stuff staying on? Start with the car on naturally, put it on DC, which is the line with the dots underneath it, and go through the remote turn on. In this case, I have 11 volts, car's not running, makes sense. Turn the car off, Fernando. It shuts off right away. That's pretty cool. Most of the time they don't do that. We do have the doors open. If you'd like to check for wrap, make sure the doors are closed, then open it. The other thing that we want to look at is if there's any form of a light on the module, when does that shut off? Does it stay open as long as the doors are open? Do we need to close the doors for it to go to sleep? In this case, this module stays on for about 2 minutes before the light goes off, which is not bad. There again, so far everything on this is checking out the way we want it to. So as far as validation goes for us to make sure that we can move forward with this and other than just unknown gremlins that happen, we're ready to move forward. We can start building our amp rack, we can start getting our speakers put in the car, we can go on with the installation. But this is the process we use anytime we get a brand new module in to make sure that the end result is where we want to be. And you guys should be doing testing too, because it just saves time in the end. A little bit of time in the beginning, a lot of time in the end saved. Fernando.
On to the next one, guys.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this one. If you get a chance, head over to axxessonline.com. Check that out. You can also find it on metroonline.com. See if this is something that might make your installation a little bit easier. You guys have a great day as always. We'll see you later next time.
Bye.
Bye.